Alright, here we go again. I survived 100 days in hardcore Minecraft Skyblock. But real quick, before we get into the days of this video, I just want to say I'm sorry about the sound of my voice in this video. I'm recovering from actually getting it back from having a really bad cold, so yeah, if I sound weird, that's the reason why. And also, if you enjoyed the video at any point, then please consider dropping a like and subscribing, because it's greatly appreciated and it really goes a long way. Anyways, on with the video. Alrighty, so on day 1, on my first day on this tiny island suspended above a never-ending void, considering I didn't have many options of things to do, I started digging up the top 2 layers of dirt to have everything nice and flat. And once all that was done, I chopped down the tree and patiently waited for a sapling, and once I had acquired said sapling, I planted it down and got to work on building a cobblestone generator. But whilst working on it, I must have decided to myself that hardcore Skyblock wasn't going to be challenging enough, and threw myself in the lava accidentally, and well, things were almost over on day 1. And to top it all off, I was starting to get hungry, so I couldn't regen. Anyways, after that incident, I got to work on mining some cobble so that I could actually expand out the island a little bit. Now, I'll explain to you, my idea for this island is I wanted to make an area kind of look like a main square in the middle, okay, surrounded by staircases in a square-like fashion all around it, kind of like a big square bowl. And then on those staircases, there'll be little platforms that have farms and tree farms and whatever the hell in them. And I'm 100% sure that I'll stick with that idea and never change it. After my little expansion, I replaced all the dirt around the cobblestone generator with stone and started on a little wheat farm that would hopefully grow quickly because I did not want to stay as vulnerable as I am right now. After getting my 1 seed planted, it was getting dark, so I got to work on mining cobble all night because, I mean, what else is there to do? There's nothing here. By the morning of day 2, I'd mined quite a bit of cobble, so I got to work on making it into slabs and placing it all down until I was satisfied on how big our main island was, and then I started work on mapping out the staircases leading to the upper layer. And oof, this was going to take a lot of cobble. After placing the slabs down as high as I needed them to be, I moved the sapling to a better place and then secured a small area around my cobblestone generator so that I would be protected somewhat when night came if things decided to spawn on the island because it's slightly bigger now. But yeah, I know it looks really bad for the minute, but don't worry, it's temporary. Ooh, and I also made myself a glowberry farm and chopped a bit of wood down from my newly grown tree. But then it began getting dark, so I went and hid inside my little bunker, mining cobble all night again. And hoping to have a skeleton spawn so that in the morning it'll burn up and I can use its remains for bone meal so that I can feed myself. But well, I didn't really have any luck with that. However, when I left my hidey hole in the morning, I saw 1 glowberry had grown overnight. I was extremely happy to see it because now that meant that I was 1 step closer to full health. So I harvested it and ate it, and then chopped down the last piece of wood from the tree, hoping to get an apple. Whilst waiting for the tree to decay, I expanded the staircase a little bit, but when I went back to the tree, all I got was a load of saplings, so I planted them down and got back to work on the stairs. I ended up making a lot of progress on them, and then started to realize how big this build was actually going to be. However, I might not even make it to finishing the first layer of stairs if I don't get some food soon, because, well, I can't even sprint anymore, and had no way of getting food except waiting around. So with that in mind, I returned to my cobblestone box and mined cobble for the rest of the day, hoping that tonight a skelly would spawn and burn in the morning so that I could finally get some bone meal for my farm. And finally, at some point during the night, a skelly boy came up to my box and I quickly dispatched it, getting 1 bone for all my troubles. On the morning of day 4, I cautiously left my house to find an enderman, a spider, and the remains of 2 skellies. Now I had 3 bones that I made into bone meal and used on the farm. After growing some crops, I went out and made myself an infinite water source because I could and they're very useful. Anyways, after that, I went and made my wheat into bread and ate it, but I was still a little bit off of healing, so I also chopped down a tree in hopes of apples. And finished off the first layer of the staircase, and I'm not going to lie, it was looking pretty good so far. After the layer was done, I made a furnace and smelted down some wood that I could use to make some torches to help the tree grow at night. Okay, so we're 4 days in, and we really don't have much stuff that we can do right now except mine cobble. So, listen up. My first goal in this 100 days is to make a mob grinder to help speed up the process of, well, basically everything. But first, to do that, we need a lot of cobble. So, I spent the rest of day 4 and the entirety of day 5 mining this godforsaken block so that I had enough to make the mob farm. Finally, by the morning of day 6, I gathered enough cobble to start on the farm. Now, I just went for the basic standard layout design of a mob farm because I don't need anything fancy. This would work perfectly considering there's no other land around for mobs to spawn on. Anyways, by day 7, the structure of the farm was built, but I still needed a lot of wood for the trapdoors inside. And also on day 7, I grew my wheat and finally regened. After almost a week on 2 hearts, I felt strong again. So strong, in fact, that I attacked a skelly, but it's all good, he was one hit anyway. After dealing with a skelly boy, I used his remains to grow a tree and chopped it down. And whilst waiting for more trees to grow, I got to work on removing the awful looking structure that I'd been cowering in nights previous. And I also moved the cobblestone generator to a new place temporarily so that things weren't as cluttered, and when it got dark, I built myself a tiny little hut next to it and mined the night away again in hopes that some trees would grow by morning. And on the morning of day 8, no trees had grown. Even after I killed a skelly and got 6 bone meal, still no trees. And then, to top it all off, I went to try and go up my mob spawner and ended up breaking half my farm. So I was really not having a good day. Anyways, I went up and placed down all the trapdoors that I had. That wasn't many, but hey, it's a start. I also went and placed water in all the spaces that push mobs down, but ended up messing up and waterlogging a slab that then caused my farm to be ruined again. So I decided enough was enough. I went down and removed all of the dirt so that I could make a better little farm without losing my crops every 2 seconds. And now, yet again, I know this looks bad, don't worry, it's temporary until I can expand some more, but to do that I kind of need wood, but I'm using wood for trapdoors and I barely have any wood in the first place. You see the dilemma here. Also, a tree grew and ended up with 8 more trapdoors, so that was pretty good. I then went round and planted a few more saplings because this wood thing was taking way too long. I then decided to spend the night in my little hut just AFK because I really didn't feel like mining any more cobble right now, and I really just wanted these saplings to grow. And well, day 9 was a much better day. There was immediately already 1 tree grown, so I chopped that down and made it into trapdoors, and then decided to go around scavenging the sides of my island to see if any bones had been dropped. There wasn't any, so I decided to head up and place my trapdoors, and by the time I came back down, there was another fully grown tree for me. I really think that my luck's starting to come back here. Anyways, I chopped the tree down and decided to work on the second layer of staircase whilst waiting for more trees to grow. And sure enough, after doing the staircase for a little while, 2 more trees had grown, that I then promptly chopped down, and now we only need 14 more trapdoors. After a while of waiting around for more trees to grow, I decided to make myself a fishing rod, but I don't really think I had a big enough body of water to catch anything, so I kind of just put it in the chest to use later. And then I realized that there was 4 more islands surrounding my main island. There was one with a jungle tree on, there was one with a spruce tree, there was a mushroom one, and I think there was a swampy one, but I couldn't really make it out. Anyways, I decided that I'd start a bridge over to the swampy one first thing in the morning, so I spent all night mining again. And in the morning, I set out carefully bridging my way over the never-ending void to our first new island. And well, when I got over there, it really didn't have anything. In fact, the only things that I didn't have that were on this island were vines and lily pads, so not really anything I need right now. So that was kind of disappointing. Anyways, I returned back to my island and grabbed the last pieces of wood that I needed to make the final trapdoors for the mob farm, and boom! Just like that, we now have a fully working mob farm, so at least one good thing came out of this day. And I actually ended up spending most of the night just camping out the farm. On the morning of day 11, I tended to my farm, made myself some food, and then went around chopping down all the trees so that I could start work on the second layer of our island right here. Oh, and I also took a couple swings at the mob farm because why not? Anyways, I worked on building out the island for the rest of the day, so while this cinematic shot is playing, let me tell you my plan for this first wooden lair. You see, it's 5 blocks wide, so in the middle of that, all the way around all 4 sides of the island, I can plant trees that will then become my tree farm, and I've not seen many tree farms that are built in like a square form of this. I don't know if anybody's doing it, probably not, it's kind of stupid, but either way, that's what we're doing. But yeah, that's my plan for the second layer, and then the third layer will have something else on it. I'm not too sure what it is yet, but anyways, after burning through all my wood, I spent most of the night growing and chopping trees so that I could finish the expansion tomorrow. But then the phantoms came, so I went and hid in my little hole again until I realized that I had enough string to make a bed, and finally, on night 11, I went to sleep for the first time. As soon as I woke up on day 12, I got straight back to finishing off the second layer, and after all the wood was placed, I went round strategically and precisely placing the dirt perfectly spaced out so that it would look even on all sides. And finally, by the morning of day 13, the second layer of the island was done, and we finally have a nice looking tree farm. And also now, the middle area of the island was no longer overcrowded with trees and dirt. After all that was done, I smelted down some wood into coal and went round placing torches everywhere so that no mobs would spawn outside of my spawner. After placing down a load of torches, I went and killed all the mobs in the grinder when I noticed that I had 2 witches in there, and you see, I need one of these to get a villager later down the line, so I began the tedious process of capturing one, and well, it was extremely annoying and scary at the same time. But eventually, I managed to separate one from the rest of the mobs in the spawner, and now all I needed was a zombie villager and a golden apple. But Poppers, I hear you ask, how will you get such an item in SKYBLOCK? Some off-camera technique, maybe? Some secret nobody knows about? No, I'm just going to go in the nether and make a gold farm. It's that simple. But that job's for later, because right now I just want to farm out this spawner and try and get some better armor to drop. Oh, and I also had an iron sword drop whilst getting the witch separated, so yeah, that was pretty nice. Anyways, some mob killing later, and I didn't really get any better armor. However, I did find a potato that I then made into a lot more potatoes, which would now become my main source of food. And after I harvested them, I went to bed.